Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. If you're a regular, you know what to do. Click the like button. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show or listening to us, make sure you click follow before you leave if you enjoy our content. We'd love to have you come back and join us here on the show every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour, 5-day-a-week live show. We're building a Liberty Network. Get in. We're making America great again. We're glad and thankful to have you here, especially Bruce Birtwistle, Joni Rankin, Luke Sacker, C.O. Day, and Kermode Bear. Good morning, pineapples. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good and very nice, including L Dubs 78. Nice to see ya. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Some sad news out of Washington, D.C. No survivors have been found after a midair collision involving an American Airlines regional jet flying from Wichita, Kansas, in a military helicopter near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Rescue crews have recovered 27 bodies from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. These confirmed deaths make Wednesday's collision the most fatal air disaster in recent memory. In 24 years, it looks like. The collision occurred moments before the jet was set to land, sending both aircraft into the Potomac River. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is holding a briefing on the crash, said, "We share a profound sense of grief," as she confirmed that lives were indeed lost. Flight 5342, that was a regional jet, had 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board. The 3 troops who were on board the helicopter were conducting a training flight. The fuselage of the jet was found in 3 sections in waist-deep water. Among the jet's passengers were U.S. figure skaters, coaches, and relatives returning from a training camp. Russian media said that 2 former world champions, a married couple, were on board. Search crews were working in freezing temperatures and extremely rough conditions. It is one of the biggest air disasters that we've had in recent memory. And again, no survivors have been found and 27 bodies were recovered. Rescue crews, including John Donnelly, who is a fire and EMS chief of Washington, D.C., had stated earlier this morning that we are now switching from a rescue operation to a recovery phase. He had said first responders were met with extremely frigid conditions. They found heavy wind, they found ice on the water, and they operated all night in those heavy conditions. Our heart goes out to the families of those who were affected, and I think we should just take a moment, have a moment of silence here for those who were affected. Thank you very much for joining us here this morning on the Wake Up America show. And I was debating this morning about how much coverage I really should attribute to this story. And in making a consideration, there are several factors that go into making a decision like that. And that is one, that can I do this story better than other news outlets or other live shows that are going on this morning? And if I don't think that I can do it, but it's so big that I have to cover it, then I'll talk about something usually and then move on. If you turn on any of your other news agencies this morning, if you want to hear coverage about that story, every news agency out there in the world is going to be doing that, and they're going to have broadcasters that are there on the ground giving, up-to-date moments. If that's something that you want to hear all morning, then this is probably not the outlet for you. This morning, I'm going to be discussing Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation hearings this morning, and a bit of an interesting side story related to this topic is that John F. Kennedy's grandson apparently followed me on Instagram this morning, which I thought was kind of odd, but he had followed me over on Instagram. I was like, who is this guy with 500,000 followers that followed me on Instagram? And I went and checked it out. I'm like, oh, this is John F. Kennedy's grandson. And then I went and looked him up. I noticed that he has been weighing in heavily with comments on his uncle's confirmation hearings in Washington, D.C. yesterday. So I went and pulled some of his quotes from the Huffington Post. We'll talk about that this morning. And we'll talk about what John Fetterman was saying this morning about how the nomination for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. may actually be in doubt. I've got a billion clips from the hearings yesterday. I thought that mostly RFK made a bold stand, but that some of the comments and statements that he's made in the past absolutely did come back to bite him. And that's why it's, it's a difficult topic. Do I want to see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. confirmed to this position? Sure, I do. I think that the president of the United States deserves to have his cabinet picks. By and large, I think that many of the people that the Trump administration has brought in are very independent-minded, many of them former Democrats. And if you're going to be bringing in former Democrats to a coalition like the MAGA movement, you're going to have people who are going to have a broad set, wide, diverse set of opinions on subjects. And I think if most of the people who watch the Wake Up America show and enjoy my commentary, you tend to be right of center or maybe even hard right. And if so, then you probably have had profound disagreements with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the past as well. And while the right has taken a decidedly anti-big pharma tack in recent years, especially due to, and you can completely understand why, because of the way that the coronavirus pandemic was handled, I do think that many on the right, especially many of those who have come from the former left, have adopted a lot of, well, I don't know. I think it's a loaded term to say conspiracy theories, because many of the conspiracy theories, like the Wuhan lab, ended up being conspiracy facts. But I think that many of the things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said in the past are demonstrably untrue. And some of those things did come back to bite him in the hearings yesterday. Now, I can profoundly disagree with someone and still think that they deserve to be able to do public service because they are good in other areas which I think are quite important for someone in that role. Do I want to make America healthy again? Yes, absolutely. Do I want to ban seed oils and red number 40, even if red number 40 is causing the cancers? Correct. I do think that people should have a right to eat beautiful and delicious red dye number 40 if they so desire, provided that they know what they're eating, just the same way that I believe as a libertarian in America that you should be able to smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, and do all manner of evil to your bodies, provided that you harm no one else. And the question of, what is the, harm, I think, is really the debate here. But when it comes to what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said in the past, I think he's made some very dubious statements. And whether you may agree with me, you may disagree with me. You may say, oh, everything he said is proven to be true, including the part about Ashkenazi Jews and the coronavirus, right? So if that is the case, right, that's fine. You could disagree with me, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still got to survive confirmation hearings. And despite the fact you may have thought that he did a good job yesterday in the confirmation hearings, he is on a razor's edge. And if Senator John Fetterman, who was leaning towards confirming him before, came out of the hearings yesterday and said that he doesn't think that it's looking good for him, then we may have to consider that this may not happen. And if that's the case, then that does throw into doubt, too, the potential for us being able to get Tulsi Gabbard across the finish line, as well as Kash Patel. So we're going to talk about that this morning on the Wake Up America show, as well as many other things. We're going to have Camelia Peterson on the Wake Up America show today. And we're going to talk to her about the crisis of young men in this country, talking about Nick Freitas video that came out where he was talking about young men and how they might revolt if the country doesn't change its social attitudes towards men. We're going to hear from Camelia Peterson about that. We're going to talk about Red Pill and the manosphere. And I think that you guys are really going to enjoy that conversation. Quest Fanning says this is largely a political show. Yes, that is true. Dad Bob Baboon asks, if not RFK Jr., then who would be a suitable second choice? I think that's a great question. I really don't know. Whoever Big Pharma supports. No, I'm just kidding. Dad Bob Baboon, I fully support adults engaging in for an exchange of money and or goods. Drew Van Runkle says, I appreciate RFK for being a free thinker. Yes, agreed. Absolutely. Totally agree with you on that. Appreciate him being a free thinker. But sometimes being a free thinker is cover for somebody's just, maybe they're doing a little bit. Maybe they've just tried a little bit too many psychedelics, and it's fine as an individual. But if you're going to be the Department of Health and Human Services secretary in the cabinet, you're going to have a hard time maybe facing confirmation hearings. But let's talk about the good news, baby. There's lots of good things happening in the world, like this.
Because as everyone knows, most of the time they're not working, they're not very productive, and it's unfair to the millions of people in the United States who are in fact working hard from job sites and not from their home. As federal employees, they must meet a high standard. They're representing our government, they're representing our country. If they don't agree by February 6th to show up back to work in their office, they will be terminated, and we will therefore be downscaling our government, which is something that the last 10 presidents have tried very hard to do but failed.
Yeah. You love to see it. Trump detailed some of the wasteful spending that might be cut.
We identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas. 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that? We stopped an attempt to make an illicit payment for illegal alien resettlement. We canceled $181 million in DEI training contracts. This is just for the training of people in DEI, which has been terminated and completely terminated. And we paused $1.7 billion in unauthorized payments to foreign organizations, including stopping more than $40 million that was on its way out the door to the very corrupt World Health Organization, which has not done its job and not done it properly. We also...
It's okay, you can clap.
We also blocked $45 million for diversity scholarships in Burma. 45, that's a lot of money for diversity scholarships in Burma.
In Burma.
You can imagine where that money went. These were the types of payments, and many others. I could stand here all day and tell you things that we found, and we have to find them quickly because we want the money to flow to proper places.
That's incredible. $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. Allegedly, some people are disputing that one. $181 million in DEI contracts. Done. Fantastic. $1.7 billion payments to foreign organizations, including $40 million to the World Health Organization. No, thank you very much. $45 million in diversity scholarships in Burma. I can't wait. I love it, baby. You love to see it. So now we're going to get to the RFK Jr. part of this discussion today. Things quickly escalated when Democratic Senator Mark Warner tried to corner Kennedy into agreeing not to fire current federal health employees, but when Kennedy refused, Warner suffered a complete meltdown.
Said publicly, you want to immediately get rid of 600 NIH workers on job one, on day one. When we had our meeting, you said you'd actually like to get rid of 2,200 people from HHS. Which offices are you going to start?
I got to dispute jam in the chat, by the way. What's up, James Taylor? Are we going to see you in Washington, D.C., bro? He says bomb making is the only thing condoms are good for anyway. I dispute that, sir. If you've ever watched any footage of the beaches, and the landing of Normandy, I've got an M1 Garand actually sitting above my desk right now. You can't actually see it on my camera. I need to get a M1 Garand cam and put like a video camera up in the corner so you guys can see my gun. But they actually used condoms to put over the tips of the barrels of their guns as they were coming to the beach so that water and sand wouldn't get down into their firearms. So there you go. There's your historical lesson of the day.
Cutting and riffing these 2,200 workers from.
Senator, there's 200 political appointees that are changed during every administration.
So if you got rid of those 200 political appointees, you're not going to replace them with your political appointees.
Well, President Biden this year changed 3,000 employees at HHS. 3,750
So
at NIH.
you're 2,200. What departments are you going to pick them from?
Well, the same as President Biden did when he changed 3,000
Good answers.
out.
Let me just, I'm down to a minute 30. The chairman's been generous with colleagues on both sides. I may have to go a couple minutes over. But let me just say, so let's just answer, this would be, I hope, since you're asking to become the top healthcare official in the United States in terms of HHS, huge ramifications, and part of this job is to be the senior advisor to the president on health issues. So when we're looking at this purge and we're looking at laying off workers, when we're looking at potentially the president's illegal offer to try to buy out federal employees, which I would say to any federal employees, think twice. Has this individual in his business world ever fulfilled his contracts or obligations to any workers in the past? But if you are in this position, will you pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety, work on trying to preventing things like salmonella?
Senator, there are 91,000 employees.
So that I take that as a, that's a simple yes, and I'm going to take that as a no.
Run that agency
I take that as a no. We talked about.
This was so hilarious because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about food safety. That is the whole centerpiece of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign, is that he is all about food safety, making America healthy again by banning my delicious corn oil that cooks my French fries. You beef tallow lovers. I'm just kidding. Don't give me. Shut up. No, I like corn oil, as you can see. Hey, God. Okay. All right. Shut up. Somebody call the cops. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's nice to see everybody today. As you're sitting down in your seats and enjoying the show, don't forget to click the like button that's in the seat right in front of you. Grab yourself your little kit that you can push the buttons in, and you can send your little message over and click like. And if you would like to send us a text message, you can do so at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. We'd love to hear from you this morning at 573-319-1586. I see Quest Fanning sent me a text message, it looks like yesterday, and it's just a link to an X post, and it says "Sons of Bitches." So I'm gonna wait until a little commercial break to open that. I hope you don't mind, Quest. I don't know if I want to open that live on air, but it just said "Sons of Bitches." Here's RFK Jr. talking about the Affordable Care Act.
Americans by and large, do not like the Affordable Care Act. People are on it. They don't like Medicaid. They like Medicare. And they like private insurance. We need to listen to what they would prefer to be on private insurance. Most Americans, if they can afford to be, will be on private insurance. We need to figure out ways to improve care, particularly for elderly, for veterans, for the poor in this country. And Medicaid, the current model is not doing that. Americans by and large, don't.
I think that's kind of admirable for Kennedy to say that, and to, first of all, to have that knowledge, and second of all, to whip that out in the hearing and say that in front of a bunch of probably Democrats who probably voted for Obamacare back in the day, because many of them have been there for 150 years.
So it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us, as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward,
You want me to
knowing
answer
that
the
it's going to
question,
harm
Senator?
Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And I'm
So
in
is
a
that the
unique
only reason
position.
why you're at HHS?
Is that the only reason you're at HHS, to make people healthy? What kind of question is that? I feel as if RFK could have just sat back and said, yeah, that is exactly why I'm going to be the Department of Health and Human Services. I mean, what else do they, I mean, we know the reasons that people typically go into jobs like that. It's to ensure the steady supply of grants and funds to Big Pharma.
Is that the only reason why then you're at the HHS, to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me, because I'm in a unique position, to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying, and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking. Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically, to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being.
You know, I feel as if she's watching him right now. If you're looking at her body language, she's agreeing with him a bit, right? The thing is, and I've got a video clip here somewhere where he's talking about this, but at one point, RFK Jr. says, a lot of these people, these were my friends until I left the Democratic Party, and now they all hate me and are trying to destroy me. Because if you look at her facial expressions, watch Katie McFarland here react. And she's not a good poker player, but watch her facial expressions when she says this.
Any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically, to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
Yeah, she didn't like that he did a good job, but she was sitting there nodding very gently the whole time. A fantastic answer, to be quite honest. You know, it's... Oh, man. Here's Elizabeth Warren, of course, being shrill as normal.
You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies.
I'm not. She reminds me of like your grandma when she got all curmudgeonly.
To sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly.
Me not say he big wampum pay for big pharma medications.
What you're doing.
No, look.
Hey guys, how are we doing today? Come on in. Welcome to the show. 7:31 a.m. Central Time here in Jefferson City, Missouri. We're glad to have you here watching the Wake Up America show. Click the like button if you haven't already. If you'd like to help support the Wake Up America show, you can enjoy many of the fine products that you see sitting right in front of me, right there on the store. I'm drinking my delicious tea. My throat has been really sore lately. Just like, I'm not sick. I'm just like tired because Wednesday nights I lead 2 karate classes back to back. So I'm just like, hey, son, she, go, look. And I have to go over and over and over again and do that for 2 hours, screaming at the top of my lungs, teaching the class, and then 2 hours in the morning talking, and then all day talking and talking and talking and talking. So when my voice gets a little tired, I switch from my delicious Founding Flavors coffee to the delicious AP for Liberty, which you can get at forlibertyshop.com. Our For Liberty are delicious. We've got about a dozen different styles of tea, and you can get those for $17.76 a bag, and that's delivered, like with shipping. The margins on these products are small for us, but we like to offer them because it's a popular item and it's consumable. So I know that once you try it, you're going to come back and get some more. It was really difficult for us to find tea, and we found the best coffee supplier we think that really is out there. So the coffee is delicious, the tea is delicious, and on these cold winter mornings, when you want to start your day right, and if you've got a little bit of a sore throat like I do, again, not sick, just exhausted, then you'll love our For Liberty collection. Get it at number 4, libertyshop.com, forlibertyshop.com. Guys, would be very grateful to have your support and your patronage, and be very grateful.
in this country that we must face honestly. And the first thing I've done every morning for the past 20 years is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children. That's why I'm so grateful to President Trump for the opportunity to sit before you today and seek your support and partnership in this endeavor. The health problems in this country that we.
I mean, you can tell he's definitely acting in earnest. But here's the reason: if he doesn't get confirmed, here's the reason why.
15% of American youth are now on Adderall or some other ADHD medication. Even higher percentages are on SSRIs and benzos. We are not just over-medicating our children, we're over-medicating our entire population. Half the pharmaceutical drugs on Earth are now sold here. 70% of the profits from pharmaceutical companies are from the United States, even though we only have 4.2% of the world's population. Not only that, but a recent study by Cochrane Collaboration founder Peter Ghosh found that pharmaceutical drugs are the third largest cause of death in our country after heart attacks and cancers. Oh, they're not making us healthier. We need community health initiatives. We need access to treatment. We need exercise. We need better food. 15% of
right there. That is why if he does not get across the finish line, it's because he's talking smack about drugging the kids, and Big Pharma can't have that. Now, the funniest part of the hearing yesterday, and I'll probably play this a couple of times on the show, was here.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of these
Okay,
onesies?
first of all, freaking hilarious. Are you supportive of these onesies? Are you supportive of these onesies? I am supportive of vaccines. First of all, I would never have expected RFK Jr. to be supportive of vaccines. I thought that was kind of like what he's against. Onesie. I'm going to forlibertyshop.com. I'm pretty sure we've got some. Yeah, we do. We got onesies. Stephanie's working on some ads today for the shop. For our onesies, we added a bunch of new ones this week. Gulf of America ones. We've got like a Gulf of America, American flag shark one. I designed that one yesterday. And Brad designed this nice Gulf of America baby onesie. We've also got some Department of Government Efficiency, field agent baby onesies. And I think the best onesie is the Don't Tread on Me with the Lego kid over there. Do you support these onesies? Do you support these baby onesies? If you do support these baby onesies, you can get those at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. And you can bet that once Hazel starts kicking around, starts walking around here, she's going to be sporting some of the best onesies in America. If you want to make America great again, make your toddler great again, then get yourself some of our onesies over at forlibertyshop.com. You can either go to onesie, type in onesie, and it'll pull up all of our onesies there, or you guys could go to our Tiny Patriots collection there. Are you supportive of these onesies?
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
I didn't think he was supportive of vaccines. I kind of thought he wasn't.
Next one is no vax, no problem. Now, you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product.
I mean, let's be honest. That's kind of sus, right? That is kind of sus. If you say you're pro-vaccine and then you're selling onesies that aren't, I mean, it's a little sus, right? I'm not saying that I didn't sell some sweaters last year or the year before too, or that said unvaccinated and ready to talk politics. But those are, adults who make their own choices. But how are you going to get up there and say you're pro-vaccine? you're pro-vaccine, and you've got these ones you should say unvaccinated or afraid.
Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece.
$26 a piece. That's actually pretty good. What are we selling our onesies for? Hey, we're selling ours for 20. Well, ours are much less expensive. If you're supportive of our onesies, our Gulf of America shark onesies, $20.99, and that's delivered to your front door. That's a good price now. I can see. Hold on, let me see.
Supportive of these onesies.
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
Which is militantly anti-vaccine. So $26. We need to raise our prices. You guys better get over there and buy those before I raise the prices.
Facts, unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is
how much does your book sell for?
No problem.
No vaccine.
Now you're coming before this committee
It's funny.
and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will.
Okay.
I want.
Okay, that's funny. So Hiccup1 over the chat asked, do you have an adult large onesie in stock asking for a friend? What?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Is it okay for me to admit that I kind of don't believe that RFK Jr. is being honest necessarily? All right, let's take a quick break here for a little joke.
I can't believe they let us back in this place.
Why?
Hello?
Nobody remembers that.
Something wrong?
Not doing it.
No good?
Nothing.
Well, we can't have that.
Yeah.
What's happening? Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
So good. It's just. Woo.
Oh,
Oh.
this one's real.
Yes.
Lunch and a show, huh? How about that?
That is a sandwich. I'll have what she's having.
I'm competing with a condiment.
Great film. Great film. Nice to see everybody here. It's the Wake Up America Show. The Wake Up America Show. What's up, Mighty Megatron? Luke Sacker, Team Mill 22. Are you supportive of these onesies? Onesies? Hell yeah. Comfy and stylish, dude. Ultimate chill gear. AP, are you supportive of adult onesies? I don't think I'm going to go that far, but I do think Luke Sacker is right that we need a t-shirt that just says, are you supportive of these onesies? Steffi, if you can hear me, the live chat wants a shirt that says, are you supportive of these onesies? Let's get on it. Let's make it happen. It's happening. It's
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure? Are you supportive of these onesies? Are you supportive of these vaccines?
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
Okay, that's going to be the clip of the day right there. Nicely done. All right. Donald Trump, on his quest to make America great again, is giving some people a hard time.
In case you're wondering what it's like being transgender under this new administration, I just got my new passport in the mail and they changed the gender to male because of Donald Trump. In case y'all want proof, there's my picture, very cunty. And yeah, there's that big ugly M. Yay! In case you're wondering what it's like being...
Man, you got to be so careful these days if you're out in the dating world. They look and sound just like girls. J.D. Vance on his reign of terror, bringing down the pain and suffering on the left.
There's something very deranged in the mind of the far left in this country where I really do think that they feel more of a sense of compassion for illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country than they do their fellow citizens, and that really has to change. And you know, when Selena Gomez had her viral moment, and of course there were a lot of other celebrities who weighed in.
Dude, I love that he's paying attention. Are you following Selena Gomez on Instagram too, J.D. Vance?
I had people sending me photos of little kids, sometimes kids the same age as my little children. We've got, of course, a 7-year-old.
Somebody had the nerve to send me an Instagram message yesterday, and they were like, why are you following Selena Gomez? And I said, well, first of all, so that I can drink her delicious, salty liberal tears. And secondly, because I Want to Love You Like a Love Song Baby was a bop. I love you like a love song, baby. I love you like a love song, JD. And I keep hitting repeat, beep, 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 beep.
Year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
It was a great scene, by the way. When
Thank you.
Your son's playing with your hair.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But you know,
don't you just want to have a beer with J.D. Vance?
Kids similar age to my children who were murdered by criminal aliens in the United States of America. And as an American leader, but also just as an American citizen, your compassion belongs first to your fellow citizens. It doesn't mean you hate people from outside of your own borders, but there's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country, and then after that, you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world.
I think I probably would disagree with that. You know, this is just nitpicking here, but I think when it comes to like the order, I would think that you are supposed to love your fellow man the same, right? You're supposed to treat everybody with love. Even your enemies, you're supposed to love. Love your enemies. So that seems like I mean, that's nitpicking there, but I would say that would be probably an area of disagreement, at least my understanding of Christian theology. What do you guys think, right? You're supposed to love everyone equally. I don't think that necessarily that's what happens, and I don't even think that that's necessarily what you should do. I think what J.D. Vance is saying is correct. Yeah, you love your family and your blood first, and then, you know, you can extend that to your communities. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's unrealistic to expect that you can love everybody on the planet. This reminds me of my debate with Dave Smith after October 7th, the year before last, when we were talking about this whole concept of like feeling empathy for people 7,000 miles away. I think most of that is really just virtue signaling on most people's part. I really don't think it's possible to love everybody in the world, right? I don't know that it's possible, right? I don't think that it's possible for you to feel empathy for absolutely everyone and love for absolutely everyone. I mean, I don't even think like the most saintly among us can pull something like that off. I feel like it's kind of like, it's a bit of a virtue signal, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Drop your comments on the chat, or you can also send me a text and tell me how wrong I am at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586.
A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. They seem to hate the citizens of their own country and care more about people outside their own borders. That is no way to run a society. And I think the profound...
Is it? Because here's the thing. I would trade so many of my fellow Americans, Antifa members, for the first, I would trade the first like 500 Antifa members you meet on Portland, the first 500 nose ring wearing, pink haired leftists on the streets of Portland, for the first 500 Cubans to step off of the boat or the raft, the raft made of 2-liter bottles on the coast of Florida. I know. If I'm wrong for that, if that makes me not a proper America-loving nationalist, well, then I guess, I mean, eat my shorts. I don't care. I love people who are worthy of love. You don't just get my love or my respect because you happen to exist in a geographic area near me. You get my love and my respect because you show me and my rights love and respect. You actually treat me with respect in accordance with respect. But if you're the type of people who are at war with my lifestyle and the way that I choose to live and are at war with my rights, then I like people over on the other side of the line who would like to live here, who would respect my rights, who do care about my freedoms, who would respect my lifestyle, and would choose to respect the American tradition. So just for the simple fact that you're born here, you don't get my love or my respect. That's not the kind of nationalism that I espouse. To me, my nationalism is people who hold to American ideals. And if you just happen to be born here and you don't hold to American ideals, I got no love for you. Sorry.
Difference that Donald Trump brings.
Am I the asshole? Am I asshole? Am I the asshole?
To the leadership of this country is the simple concept, America first. It doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It means that you have leadership. And President Trump has been very clear about this, that puts the interests of American citizens first. In the same way that the British Prime Minister should care about Brits and the French should care about the French, we have an American president who cares primarily about Americans, and that's a very welcome change.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to some extent, there's a blind nationalism, which is just everybody who is an American citizen here in the United States gets my love and my respect and all of that, and that kind of America first thing. But I'm much more of a libertarian nationalist in the sense that if you respect my rights and you happen to be born here as an American citizen, then fine, good, yes, you will earn my love, my support, my trust, my respect. You will earn it. Right? You will not be granted it or gifted it because you happen to be born down the street. What do you guys think about that? RVolt 24. Oh, Whitey White is here to regale us with his POV today. I'm sure nobody will be angry with him. Jam hanging out this morning. Mighty Megatron, RVolt 24, Quest Fanning, Blutreich, Eins, Weiß, Reich, Erica, bum. If you haven't already, click the like button on the Wake Up America show and help support the show. I'll be very grateful to have you here. That's Nicole Shanahan crying on Fox News. Oh, this was a funny clip. We'll try and get this one in before I have Camilla in 10 minutes.
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
No, wait a minute. So watch his facial expression there when he sticks his tongue in his cheek.
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative.
Now that is very funny because if you look how he sticks his tongue.
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
See that look on his face right there where he stick his tongue in cheek? Let's see if we can find this moment here. Heroin, 5-year-olds, Austin Peterson. Let's see if we can find my facial expression on this one. Here we go. Looky here. No, you should not be able to sell heroin to 5-year-olds. That was me in the meme when I was running for president. Look at that. See that look in the face? See that look? Same look. Right there. Yes, you should not be able to sell heroin to a 5-year-old. Boo! They booed me. I'm like, ugh, I'm embarrassed for you. That's what that facial expression is. That's, oh, I'm embarrassed for you. Not I'm embarrassed. I was embarrassed because of them, because I was associated with them after that. But that's the I'm embarrassed for you look right there. Hold on, let's see. Where's the freaking video? See right there? Same look, same energy. Yeah. Oh, right there. Same energy. Right here and right here. See that? See that? Right here and right here. Oh, same energy. Same energy.
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me. Mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests.
Yes, it is. That is a great response to that one here. And as like me, I'm like the conspiracy theory. Everybody else is conspiracy theory. I'm conspiracy theory debunker guy. Not that some of them aren't true. They're conspiracy facts and conspiracy theories. But he is absolutely correct in that conspiracy theory. And because I'm a right winger, right? I just happen to be a right winger and not a big conspiracy guy. But because I'm a right winger, of course, I got accused of being a conspiracy theorist when I came out pretty early for the lab leak theory, right? But it's a way to shut people up.
Mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests.
Correct.
I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the vaccines, the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection. when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020. I was called a conspiracy. Now everybody admits it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said red dye caused cancer. And now FDA has acknowledged that and banned it. I was called a conspiracy theorist because I said fluoride lowered IQ. Last week, JAMA published a meta-review of 87 studies saying that there's a direct inverse correlation between IQ loss.
All right, so I'm going to assume
I could go on for about a week.
Is there any one of them that you can say, you got me? That really was a conspiracy theory, or are you in a position?
Interesting. That is a way to shut people up. That's how they talk when they want to shut you up.
Very much like the slogan that you coined, Make America Healthy Again. And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are living 6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human?
Healthcare or assisted suicide, Burner? You know what I'm saying? There were 15,000 people who died waiting for care in Canada and 15,000 others that were just like, all right, just kill me.
Right. Yes, no.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
I don't know if he's going to make it, guys. I just don't know. I love this angle, though, of the onesie moment. You can see Megyn Kelly in the background kind of laughing her ass off.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly...
See Megyn Kelly there in the background? Hold on, she's just losing her shit here.
This clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine.
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell. Are you supportive?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
All right, guys, I got to take a break from the RFK Jr. stuff because we got Camelia Peterson coming in to join us here in just a few minutes. And I wanted to talk to you. Gosh, where is the clip? You know what? I'm probably going to have to play it when we get back. This is a question of where young men in American society are going. Don't go away. We'll be right back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Don't sell any heroin to 5-year-olds. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Boo.
The president has no constitutional authority to regulate drugs. That being said, at the state level, I would support some legislation that would stop children from being allowed to purchase drugs and prosecute anyone who would put a child in danger, because I do believe that children do need some protection. Yes, you should not be able to sell heroin to a 5-year-old.
Why you pulling me? I'm right.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, DCPentsak. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
We're at a point right now where young men are going to revolt. Regardless of what postmodernist philosophers think about equity within society, young men are the ones that possess the capability to impose their will. They're the ones that we use to fight wars. They're the ones that we use to police streets. You don't get to alienate and attempt to emasculate them forever without them standing up and having something to say about that. The question is going to be, who are they going to look at as their leaders in that process? You're going to get a version of masculinity, which takes all of those masculine traits, looks at all the people that they think have attempted to emasculate them, and says, unleash it on them. F those people. You can have another group of men, older men, that are telling these young men, yeah, that sucks. It shouldn't have happened, but we need you to be strong and we need you to be noble. You're right, they lied to you about these attributes, but you have to develop in the way that they're going to go, because the only way that you're going to save the sort of society that you want to live in, the only way that you're going to create it is if you stand up and you actually assume that role And it sucks that you have to do it under these conditions, but you do. So let's do it. I honestly don't know which path they're going to choose. Right now, if I had to guess, it's not this one. And that is going to be very, very dangerous. Not for me, but it's going to be very, very dangerous for a lot of people that perpetuated this. And so they're going to have to wake up to the fact that for those of us that are trying to educate young men in a way that we think will use those traits toward a noble purpose, you're making it really hard for us to do our jobs right now.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. That was Nick Freitas talking about young men who have been so mistreated by modern society and how they will behave when they revolt. Not if they revolt, but when. It's Tradcons. It's a very traditional kind of conservative view that men should self-sacrifice themselves for their wives, for their families, for their communities, for their nations. And Nick Freitas seems to be advocating for that although men have been mistreated, they should still keep themselves in the pockets, behaving traditionally in a world that continues to spit on them. That doesn't sound like a very fair arrangement, but fuck you, you're a man. You don't deserve shit. We put women on the pedestal. They're floating above us. And you don't deserve anything. You've been mistreated. Too bad. Eat shit. That's what Camelia Peterson has to say, and she's joining us live right now. Did I mischaracterize your opinion at all in any way? Good morning, CJ.
Good morning. You might have gone like a little further than I would.
I know. I'm teasing. It's nice to see you, CJ. You doing all right?
You too. I'm good. It's a rainy, what is today? Thursday morning here in Southwest Missouri. And oh my gosh, like, by the way, this is Missouri for you. I was looking at the forecast, and this weekend it's going to be almost 70 degrees in January.
Nice.
Like, okay, like I'll take this part of January in Missouri. So no, it's all good.
And then a week later, it'll be like negative 72 or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
Right. So an interesting take from Nick Freitas. It sounds good. It sounds like the kind of like fantasy that you'd read in like in 50 Shades of Grey. No, not in 50 Shades of Grey, but like a classic conservative romantic novel that you might, the one that my grandma Rose, who was a good Christian, would read about, men and knights of shining
All the Jeanette
armor.
Oak books.
Yeah, the knight in shining armor, right? But Rollo Tomassi, he runs a website called Rational Mail. He's a big red pill guy. He took a lot of umbrage with what Nick Freitas was saying. And I kind of agree with Rollo, because here's what Rollo said, and then I'll let you have the first word once I read his comments. Rollo says, trad utopia is not your utopia. And trad means like a traditional conservative, for those who might not be down with the lingo. Rollo says, trads lost the fight. Why would you think they'll win the rematch? Traditional conservatism was destroyed by an irreversible process. They're not offering to save society for you. They're demanding you save it for their kids. They don't want men to better themselves. They want better men to solve women's problems. This is why TriggerPod fears us. And TriggerPod is trigonometry. That's the podcast Nick Freitas was on. Rollo quite salty about Nick Freitas asking men to save society for solving women's problems. Okay, your reaction.
So the first thing that I thought about when I saw this is, first of all, I think lumping Nick Freitas into the Tradcon boxes, I don't know. I don't really put him there, I guess.
Simp.
I'll simp a little for Nick Freitas.
Okay,
No, so I mean, but the thing is like, I would actually really love to see a conversation between Rollo and Nick. I actually don't think that Rollo would do it. I mean, I'd love to be proved wrong, and he'd probably say that he would, but I'm highly skeptical that he would, because there is, Nick Freitas is saying a lot of the same things and acknowledging a lot of the same realities that Rollo talks about. But Nick's solution to it is a little different and goes further. And it's not, even the solutions are not drastically different in that Nick doesn't go black pilled, and Rollo sometimes, I mean, doesn't entirely go black pilled, but does really tend to give more of the negative, negative, negative. And he does, like, I mean, it's very true. Like, when you're talking about men who have grown up in the society we have now, just completely emasculated by the feminist movement, you have to start somewhere. And that starts with, you know, reclaiming yourself as an individual. And I think that he talks about that a lot. And it also
okay,
means,
but
like,
you're not okay, Camellia. You're simping. All right, you're talking about things that he is saying outside of the context of this, discussion that we're having right now. So you can defend Nick Freitas's positions he said on lots of other things all the time here, and I got no beef with Nick Freitas. But what it seems to be is that Rollo Tomassi continued on, and here's what he had to say. Tradcons pay lip service, respect to men, but all in service to the female imperative. Instead of helping men overcome and control their protective instinct towards women, it exploits that instinct and mythologizes it with obligations of duty and honor to convince men they owe women the fulfillment of their mating strategy. This is why feminism ate conservatism's lunch. Feminism is also an exploitation of the male protective instinct. Old order chivalry with new order egalitarian independence. We've talked about this a lot, Camellia. And Rollo finishes by saying, Tradcon's victory condition is unattainable because feminism didn't kill marriage. Technology did. Your reaction?
Okay, yeah. I mean, the whole technology question gets into, like, that's a whole other can of worms, right? But I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, you're talking about the technology of marriage in terms of, you know, it becoming a government contract and, you know, kind of the context it has become in our society. However, what I will say is that what is Rollo? I mean, when you talk about whatever the Tradcon solution is, I don't think that someone like Freitas is saying that men should pay obeisance to women regardless of what they do. I don't think he has zero expectations of women, and I don't think men should have zero expectations of women. So I think that, you know, when you are looking for what you want in life, I mean, that is the question. The irony that strikes me here, and when you look at in terms of, you know, Rollo Tomassi's approach to this and Nick Freitas' approach to this, is Rollo says a lot of these things, but I want to know what this looks like walked out in reality. And so Rollo talks about this. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that men shouldn't get married? Does it mean they should just be playboys and use women just because they deserve it? Like, the irony in this is that Rollo does not live that.
Okay,
like,
but the problem,
that persona,
but
Camellia, he's been married almost 30 years.
I get it. Okay, that's fine. Well, you know, I've been married for, you know, almost 3 years now. And the thing is that I still see the system that Rollo describes as being the current system we live in. This is what Rollo says. I think this is the important condition. And I think you and I could probably agree on this. You might quibble a little bit, but can we agree that he is correct that we are living in an old order chivalry for men with new order egalitarian independence for women? Would you agree that men are still constrained by their gender and that women are not?
Sure. I mean, we have decided that you can change the definition of a woman, although we've also kind of gone down the path of you can change what the definition of a man is too, although they don't want to call men when they're not men. They want to call them women too. But anyway, but no, I agree. The question for me is, like, what should it look like? What is the solution that we're going for? Because if the solution is you want a stable society that has stable families, and it's not that everybody has to look like that, but you do have norms, and norms are somewhat necessary, you know, for a healthy functioning culture. And so I think that that's the question. And I want to know, like, what is Rollo's solution to that? I think what he has done that is super valuable for men has been that he's like, look, you focus on yourself. You know, you work on bettering yourself. You don't do everything that you do for women. And I think that's 100%. I actually think Nick Freitas would agree with that. But the question
Camellia,
is like,
you're running away.
once you do that,
but you're running away from the liquid, hot, magma, fiery, painful discussion. You're working through a solution that's 5 or 6 or 7 steps down the road. The problem is, we agree that the problem is that we live with men have to live according to standards of old world chivalry. Sacrifice yourself, sacrifice for your woman, sacrifice for your family, sacrifice for your community, sacrifice for your nation that hates you and has wanted to destroy it up until now has had diversity, equity, inclusion standards that discriminated against you. And thankfully now we're seeing the tide beginning to turn around on this one. But the problem is this, that there is an exploitation of male instinct. Men are being exploited. Men are being exploited to serve women's interests because we have a natural protective instinct towards women, right? Feminism takes advantage of that and exploits that male protective instinct. It says that we are going to take advantage of men's strength and we're going to force them to pay welfare benefits for my 9 kid Tyrones and Chads out of wedlock. And we're going to take the great man and we're going to drain him of his resources and make him a slave to the state to take care of all of our welfare babies. That's how feminism has exploited the male protective instinct. Okay, yes, fine. The men go along to get along, right? And maybe they get a little kitty if they're lucky. So that's how feminism exploits male's protective instinct. But I'm almost done. But traditional conservatism, Camellia, also exploits the male protective instinct, right? But this is what I've been saying to you for months and months, and you've started to finally come around, is that you are strong, independent, and you don't need no man, right? So we need to stop making them feel like there's some obligation for a random man on the street to protect you. There is no obligation for a random man on the street to protect you. Conservatives, you have no interest to be Captain Save-A-Ho, okay? Because a society that degrades you and destroys you and hates you and takes away your job and takes away your position in the university, takes away your position in the government or in the firm and puts you down packing out boxes of the plant, right? You don't get to have your cake and eat it too anymore, ladies. You can have the job or you can get back in the kitchen where you belong and do your job as a woman if you want us to do our job as a man. You can't have it both ways. So, Camellia, which is it? The kitchen or the career?
Well, I would choose the individual and still recognizing that there are definite roles. But what I would say, is like, where would we be? Like, I understand the risk and where where that men take in, fulfilling that protector role, especially in public with people that they don't know. But where would we be without the Daniel Pennies? Where would we be without JD Vance and without Elon Musk? These are all people who didn't say, screw you and screw women, like I'm not going to do anything. They did those things and they've paid the price. But what was the outcome of Daniel Penny's sacrifice? And I would consider it a sacrifice 100%.
Do you think he regrets it? Do you think he regrets it? But don't you think he regrets it?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Don't you think he regrets it?
But
you said yeah. So why? Why do you think he regrets, even though the outcome for him happened to be advantageous, and some people do think he's a hero, but he's demonized by another wider part of society. Why did you answer yeah? Why do you think that he regrets it?
I think that he regrets it because obviously it was at great cost to him. Now, I'm not going to say, I don't know what his worldview is. I don't know what his worldview is because my take on this is not just looking at this just from his perspective, because I think this is part of the mistake we make. And as part of the mistake we make as a culture right now is that people are always self-interested. Like we've talked about that. That's a fact of human nature. However, one of the things that it just seems like we don't do anymore is we don't have that legacy thinking where you think about what is the world going to look like after me? And why should I care about that? I only care about my life right now how things impact me, and screw my great-great-grandchildren or whatever. I don't think that people like Elon Musk, JD Vance, Donald Trump, I don't think that they have that worldview. But I do think that when something happens that's terrible, like the situation with Daniel Penny, the outcome of that is that we're talking about it. People were outraged about it. It's been used on the national stage to elevate the conversations that we need to be having. And look what happened during Donald Trump's campaign. We're talking about this stuff, and they're talking about young men, and young men are feeling like somebody finally hears them and is going to bat for them. And that's where we need to be. And we don't get there by everybody just saying, you know what? We don't need to behave in any traditional way or, fulfill
Sure,
our
but
kind of
that's
roles.
fine.
You know
But
what
it
I'm saying?
cannot. But it can't be one-sided, Camellia.
Sure,
it can't
I
be
agree.
one-sided. That's why I like Pearly things. That's why I like Pearly Davis, right? Because
You see the Simps in her comments?
yes, it's true. And I don't agree with everything Pearly Davis says, but she's on the attack, and especially on conservative women. But here, you know what I love about Pearl is she's completely and totally unfair. She is biased. She never takes women's side. Ever. It doesn't matter. I mean, he could rape, he could kill, he could dismember, he could rip the woman limb from limb and chew on her corpse. And Pearl will say she was asking for it. And
she sure will.
Yeah, she will. And why do I love it? Because this is what we as men, and it's just the blinders of society. If you're not a man, it can be really difficult to see like everything, all the knives. Like it's kind of like that movie where the guy puts on the glasses and he can see the aliens and stuff, right? Obey and all this kind of shit. You don't see it because society is built for you, Camellia. Society is built to cater to your needs and to make you happy and to not offend you or your sensibilities. While the rest of the men, especially white men in our society, we've got the special glasses on and we can see the aliens around us because they're constantly have the knives out, everything pointed at us. We're all just one situation away, on a public transit from becoming the next Daniel Penny. And I don't think most men want to be like that, right? People talk a lot of shit, especially when we talk about martial arts. I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have done that. No, you fucking wouldn't. No, most of you would not. Most of you would have bled out in the streets and gotten stabbed and died for a woman that would then fundraise on her OnlyFans, off of your death and ask for a week off of work because of the trauma and all this shit. So the problem is that you can't say that, like what you're saying, Camellia, you can say whatever you want, it's a free country, but you can't say then that, oh, well, we shouldn't be encouraging people to be traditional or to cast away the traditional aspects. Where is the advocacy for women to get into the kitchen and make the sandwiches, Camellia? Where is the advocacy? This is why I like Pearl. Where is the advocacy to tell women to be traditional, right? Because here's the thing, it's an obligation for us. It's not a question of will we provide, like, can we provide? And plus there's plenty of deadbeat dudes out there. I get it. We hear about them all day long. But what about the deadbeat females? Pearl talks about them every day. You all are a bunch of scum-sucking parasites. You're a bunch of parasites.
Okay.
And here's the thing, Nick Freitas is right. You exist at our pleasure. You exist in everything that you have, everything that you enjoy. You exist at pleasure. Your air conditioning went out, call the HVAC guy. Your plumbing isn't working, call the guy. Who's going to show up? Is it going to be little Miss Thang to do your plumbing? No. Who's going to retire everything? The car that you ride in, the guy who changed your oil, the gasoline that made it inside your vehicle, every single aspect of the conveniences of your life, this society that's built for you, right, is built because men like you and they want to have sex with you, most of them, right? And so they're simps, many of them. And Rollo is telling them not to be simps. Freitas is saying, yeah, this world hates you and women can do whatever they want, but you still have to and you've been mistreated, but you still have to sacrifice yourself for them because tradition and conservatism and honor, right? No, fuck that shit. Get in the kitchen. Where's my Pearl? I want Pearl Davis in here. Where is the advocacy for female traditional conservative values? Where's the advocacy for the traditional conservative female values, Camellia?
where is Pearl's kitchen? And the man, and like,
I think she lives in an apartment in, I don't know.
Let's talk about Pearl. Let's talk about who's been talking about this way longer, me or Pearl, because it sure isn't Pearl. Like, Pearl's been on this bandwagon because it's been profitable for the last few years. The thing is like, that's just the thing. Like, there are people who live it and there are people who talk about it. And it is not that it's not that men need to bow to anything. And it is not that it's going to look the same as it always has. But I think that the idea that the solution is just to, bash women all the time, what does that do for you? I mean, where are we? So I was talking about, and this made me think about, like, what is justice? Because if we're talking about what's fair here, like, life's not fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. And somebody has to. How many did your parents ever tell you, like, you need to be the bigger person?
That's why men are turning to Rollo Tomassi. That attitude.
Sure.
Right? Life's not fair, and you have to suck it up. Nobody tells young women that, Camellia. Nobody, listen, lose weight. Okay, here's the thing. If I see a fat chick on the street and I say, you look disgusting. You are a slob. You need to lose like 50 pounds. Like, your career, your life would be over. But I mean, suck it up, right? You need to lose weight and you need to look pretty and you need to, like, be more feminine, right? Do you see the double standard here? You're telling me to suck it up and you're telling me to be a man and you're telling me that life isn't fair. No one is telling you those things.
I don't know about no one, but I will say that, like, there has to, if one side is always waiting for the other side to be better, like, I don't think we can do that. I think both sides need to be working on this. But when we talk about, what's fair and justice and where do we go from here, I was thinking about a conversation I had the other day. My daughter's reading Plato's Republic and discussing this in class, and this might makes right. And what does justice mean? And it's this idea that, justice is always objective and there is this, like, fair component. Justice is actually a lot of times not fair. Like, that's not truly what justice ends up being. And so I do think that in terms of what the masculine approach should be, and I don't disagree with a lot of what Rollo has put out, I do think that he stops short, and there are people who take what masculinity should be to a more full outcome and end than what he does, because he's living what he says, but he's not really telling men that all the time. That doesn't pay the bill.
He's changing here's what I see Rollo is doing. He's changing what masculinity is, but women don't like that because it doesn't protect you. It's not, here's the thing. It is not in women's best interest. I get it. For men to follow Rollo Tomassi and to do what he's saying. It is in men's best interests. It is a selfish form of masculinity, but it is a response to a selfish form of femininity. You can't continue to be on the take, to be on the dole from men, and to continue to selfishly use and abuse the boldest and the best and the brightest of our society on the male side of things, and then think that, well, but you're just going to have to continue to still sacrifice yourself. You can't do that. You talk about being fair. Well, it's not fair and all that kind of stuff. Well, then you're going to get what Nick Freitas is saying. You're going to get a revolt, and he's like, you're making it hard for me because I want to tell men to continue to serve female interests of old order chivalry, despite the fact that we live in a society where women can do whatever the hell they want. I want men to still be constrained by this duty and this honor and this thing that I've been, had my entire life. I've been told it drilled into me, and he served in the military, right? So there's this, this whole conformist aspect. Rollo is telling men to do what's in men's best interest. That's not in women's best interest. Nick Freitas is telling men to do what he says is in men's best interests. That is in female interests. But I kind of like what Rollo is saying, because I think until you suffer, until you experience the pain of not being able to be protected, lose the protection, the protective cloak of men, you will not recognize what you've lost until it is gone. Right. And then we can negotiate on better terms. It's like Trump wants to put tariffs on China before they negotiate. And frankly, I think women need to suffer before we negotiate the new order of society. So suffer.
So, like, I think, the question is, like, it is what it is right now. The people who have gone before us failed. And that's, a whole other can of worms in the reasons behind that. However, like the question for us now is, what do we do now? And the most important part of that is, how do we train our children? What do we bring them up believing? Do we bring them up believing that, I don't know how you change women's approach to men if men change what they are because of what they want women to be, but they're not currently. Does that make sense?
Well, sure, but it's uncharted territory for sure. But I know, as Nick Freitas said, he said things aren't going to stay the same. There's going to be a revolution. It's going to go one way or it's going to go another. And I get that
I think there already has been.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's happening. But here's the thing, it still binds men down by the chains of an old world order that does not exist anymore. And it allows women to go about flitting about their days. Oh, I'm just a girl. It's a fire. Save me. I'm just a girl, right? But we have to remove the simp aspect of masculinity. The simping has got to come to an end. But women aren't going to like that, because that means that OnlyFans purchases go down. That means that, you're not going to...
Hold on. Hold on. Are you serious, though?
Yeah. No more simping.
Do you think that what Rollo is putting out and what Pearl is putting out, like that's going to result in less OnlyFans and less simping? Because I'm going to argue that it's going to create more
simps. Not sure about that one. It's something that I think I think that you're really missing the boat here with this, because they still advocate for men to have some traditional masculine values, to work on their bodies, to work on their mental health, right, to do things for themselves and to achieve and to succeed, right? And those are things that Nick Freitas and the traditional conservatives would agree with. They would be delighted to hear it. But what Rollo is advocating for is that we remove the cloak of protection of the implicit cloak of protection that men have towards women. The explicit, or what's the word? Is it implicit? The implicit belief that it is men's job to protect women, and simping is when you try and protect a woman from themselves, and then the old world order is to protect women from other men. But I think Rollo has a good job. I really think that women have got to experience a painful transition process, because they've gone through a beautiful, wonderful, magical golden ticket land of getting all of these positions and careers and jobs and benefited from diversity, equity, and inclusion. Amazingly enough, white liberal women in this country, right? But until they suffer the slings and arrows of the outrageous fortunes of not being able to just call a police officer man to come and save them at a moment's notice, and no man in the territory coming to save you.
What happens to the good women who are trying to do the right thing, and the daughters that we raise who are also trying to do the right thing? Like,
they're strong, they're independent, they're strong. Look at all women that
way.
Strong. We tell them the same thing they've been hearing for years. They're strong and they're independent and they don't need no man. Can I get an amen? Camellia, I got to run. I'm late for Daniela. Do you want to say anything else before we go? Sorry, yelling at you. We're just goofing around. We're friends, okay?
Yes, we are. It's fun. It's always fun.
Yes.
And, we'll solve this problem someday. Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Teach your children well.
Oh, yes. Okay. Anything you want to plug real quick?
No, just follow me on Twitter. That's my favorite spot.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Camellia. We appreciate you very much. Everybody say thank you. Follow her at Rare Camellia. All right, so our next guest is DCPentsak. She's going to talk about that subject and so much more. Don't go away. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show. Quantum Kitty's mad at me. I've been an engineer for 40 years, a woman engineer. Wow. I'm your simp, Kilsharian. Yes, mistress. Yes, we will do what you say.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, DCPentsak. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe...
I hate you, Laura! I hate you!
Country girls.
That's Little House on the Prairie. Good morning. Good morning. Rise in Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Netflix has announced a fresh take on the beloved Little House on the Prairie. Fans are heading back to Little House on the Prairie. More than 40 years since the original series concluded after 9 seasons in 1983. Netflix has greenlit a reboot of the 19th century period Western series Little House on the Prairie. Most of the main characters will be played by bisexual people of color. along with a few queer and trans individuals as well. Joining us now to discuss that and the cultural rot is the host of an expert on cultural rot, so much so that she's got her own show, Culturama, tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. DCPentsak joining us live on the Wake Up America show. It's early on the East Coast, so say thank you to Daniela for being here. Daniela, good morning.
Good morning, Austin. Yes, I would say I am an expert on cultural rot. I talk about it quite frequently in Culturama. So if this is something that the audience likes to hear, if you are new to hearing about Culturama, tune in at 7 p.m. Central. That's what I'll be talking about today.
Yeah, Daniela, I think you were the person, actually, or maybe in your account, pretty sure, that brought to my attention the fact that Little House on the Prairie, beloved American epic tale, a part of Americana, is going to get a remake, but the key words that everybody is getting a little bit up in arms about are the statement that it's going to be a fresh take on Little House on the Prairie. Does that mean that instead of the central Midwest, they're going to film it in the upper Midwest, right? Or maybe like, in Tennessee or something, not quite as prairie-ish or something? What do you think they mean by that?
I don't think they mean that, Austin. I think we all know what it means. They say it's going to be a fresh take and it's going to be, quote, a reimagining of Little House on the Prairie. And Netflix is going to host it. So we all know Netflix has a great track record with things like this. And then the executive producer, actually, of this new take or reimagining of Little House on the Prairie is, she's going to be an executive producer. Her name is Rebecca Sonnenschein, and she did work on The Boys. And from what I've heard, The Boys is a pretty woke show, at least. That's what I've heard. So when I found that out, I don't have any good feelings about this show. They're supposed to, have an explanation and a reimagining of the origin story and the legacy of the great American West. That at least that's what the article said. And but you just know that when they use the word something like reimagining, just expect the cast members to be in a wheelchair. So I don't think
a powered wheelchair. It's like those pictures when the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs trailer first came out, and it was all the weird dwarfs that were not dwarfs. They didn't call them dwarfs, and it was like black and brown and not a midget and.
They call them magical creatures, which is also, a little offensive if you're going to have people of other ethnicities. But anything else but dwarves. They call them magical creatures, and people got upset about that, so they rechanged it to dwarves with awful CGI, it looks like. At least that's what the trailers had. So, these people will just go to great lengths to wokeify anything that they can and put their hands on, honestly, great stories and just ruin it. So I think this is going to be a financial drain. I don't know if a lot of people are going to tune in, but we'll see. I could be proven wrong, but we've just had too many bad experiences, I think, to approach this. And I'm not a huge fan of Little House on the Prairie, but I know that it does have its fans, and I just hope they're not going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, I think the daughter of Laura Ingalls Wilder is a woman by the name of Rose Wilder, and she was actually the author of some of the most libertarian books and novels that there were. She was considered one of the founding mothers of libertarianism. Just a little side fact for those who are interested. Did you see that video of the Captain America guy who was talking about the new Captain American movie, Anthony Mackie? He was talking about what Captain America should or should not represent. Did you happen to see that? If not, I've got the video I can play real quick.
I did not.
Okay, hold on. That's okay. Let me do this. So Anthony Mackie, black guy, going to talk about what it means to be a black playing Captain America. Take a listen to this.
Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of,
Daniela, this kind of reminds me of that scene, that clip of Ben Shapiro where he's getting asked by where does it say that you have to be a boy to be in the Boy Scouts? And he's like, it's in the name, Boy Scouts, boys. Captain America, right? Shouldn't represent America. It's a complete. Go ahead, your reaction.
Anymore. So essentially what he's saying is that Captain America is supposed to be honest and, stand for principles, and therefore that is why we cannot call him Captain America, because he stands for honesty. Is that what he's saying in that clip?
Well, he says that kids should look up to heroes for character, but that, basically that Captain America should be a gay race communist.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. Can't be proud of your country or patriotic anymore. I mean, we already know this. This is culture. This is the modern version of slop these days. And, I frankly, I really do think that a lot of people are obviously getting sick of it. And like you mentioned, with Rose Wilder also being, one of the founding mothers, I guess you could say, of libertarianism. I wouldn't be surprised if Little House on the Prairie does have more of a conservative fan base. So again, I think they're going to be sorely disappointed. When I found out who the executive producer was and various writers that will be working on this show, I was disappointed. I mean, I was hoping for hopefully a break, maybe Netflix learned from their previous mistakes, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case here. And I think that they're playing with fire with something like Little House on the Prairie. With superheroes, maybe you can go with the conjecture that it's sci-fi and perhaps they have a more diverse audience or a wider audience, but Little House on the Prairie, I just don't think is going to work out for them too well. So I think it's going to be a massive waste of money. It's quite unfortunate, but like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But I just really feel like it's going to be slop. When they use that R word, reimagining, I get nervous. I have a weird feeling in my tummy, and I don't think it's going to be the best.
Yes.
The best.
Agreed. I'm going to pull a picture up on the screen here. This is a cover of New York Magazine. And this was a photograph of young people at a Donald Trump celebration party in New York City. And the title of it was called The Cruel Kids Table, subheading Out Late with the Young Right as They Contemplate Cultural Domination. And it basically is, in the article, it says that it's basically all white people at this event. And you can see from the photo, all white people is what I can see here in this photograph, except if you actually look here a little bit on the far left edge of the screen, I see someone's hand that is distinct, unless somebody's wearing blackface at that party, which I don't think they are. It looks like there might be a black person on the side of the screen. Why is everybody talking about this photograph, Daniela? What does it represent?
Yeah, I really don't think anyone's wearing blackface at this party. So they cropped out. Here's the thing. This article was supposed to be a piece to negatively hit this new pro-Trump conservative movement, saying that it was mostly white. And it's called the Cruel Kids Table. I'm sure people that are on social media have seen this picture float around. Basically talks about the vices of being conservative, and one of which they said it was primarily white. It said it was mostly white. That picture cropped out black individuals that were at the party. I think there was at least 3 in that picture, but they deliberately cropped it out and presented the image that it was an only white party. And also in the article, they literally interviewed black people, but they failed to mention that they were black. And then they went on to make that assertion. And so, they're basically trying to frame this new conservative pro-Trump youth movement as inherently evil in some cases, hence the title, The Cruel Kids Table, which is really cringy, to say the least. It did draw a lot of attention about, frankly, the picture looks really fun. A lot of people said it's actually a pretty darn good picture.
Looks like a great party, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So in a weird twisted way, it's like, the leftists are trying to pose this as very negative, but it doesn't look that way, especially with all the pictures that were taken. And people were saying that this is a good litmus test. Do you approach this picture with fear and disgust, or do you think it looks great? How does this determine your political affiliations here? And so the picture does serve as a bit of a litmus test. It's interesting that leftists are reacting in this way. It's almost as if they're still living in high school. They still have this agenda against, frankly, what people would consider how popular or pretty people would look like, and have a lot of ire drawn against it simply by looking at people like this. So it's interesting. the picture does serve as a pretty good litmus test to see like basically what kind of experience you had in high school or in college. And a lot of people referencing especially that woman, that young woman in the picture with the dress, with the black dress, saying that she looks like, you know, a typical sorority girl. And a lot of people on the right wing were thirst trapping on her a little bit, or
yeah, there was a lot of that. Some of them were already offering her up to Baron Trump for as a female sacrifice, like. And I guess, yeah, I saw memes today. I was laughing so hard because I'm pulling the picture up on the screen right now. I saw memes of this chick and that's on the front cover because naturally your eyes just draw to her because she's beautiful. And they were talking about how men love, is it buccal or buccal fat? That's the fat that's on your cheeks. Having nice round cheeks, because it's become a trend for women to have the fat on their cheekbones removed to make and that's like why you see so many of these women, they look like they're on Ozempic, but they're not. It's just that they've had the buccal fat or whatever removed from their face. But this young lady has kind of become a meme and a thirst trap on the conservative movement because, again, these are all young conservatives. And the big story is that they cropped out all the black people there, and they're actually all giving a toast to a black man who put that party together. And so, I mean, we knew that the left would be completely disingenuous about this. But I think that the more important conversation really is what you've identified, Daniela, which is that this is a litmus test for how you feel, how this picture makes you feel says a lot about who you are as a person. And that, I think, is really the more profound, like, cultural question that's at discussion with this one, because, you know, I'm a theater kid. I was a theater nerd, and I'll tell you that, you know, nowadays I see Jack Posobiec, and I write for his magazine and stuff like that. I don't take offense with some of these people, what they say, because, like, you know, and you and I, we argue about H-1B stuff, right? There's room for disagreements on the right on issues and things like that. But the cultural question, of course, I see sometimes is that there's this identification on the right that theater kids, quote unquote, are the people who have been in charge, and because they weren't cool, they are jealous of these rich, attractive, conservative, racist kids who are happy and they look fine. It does go back to that Vivek Ramaswamy Screech versus Zach Morris discussion that we're kind of having here, right? This photo is kind of evidence of the continuation of that discussion that's happening in the zeitgeist right now, is it not?
I would say so. And of course, you know, with the conservative movement, you're always going to have disagreements, like you said. Like it also, interestingly enough, it all goes back to either like early days of college or late days of high school, right? That's when our character really starts to develop, and you know, it makes or breaks us, I suppose you could say. And it really facilitates identity building. So I wouldn't be surprised with like the argument that a lot of people are driven and motivated by whatever they experienced in their early days of young adulthood development. But
you called it Urkel. You called it like Urkel nationalism or something. Urkel nationalism. What do you mean by that? What's Urkel nationalism?
So, Urkel nationalism is what I call basically the wrap up Vivek Ramaswamy's, you know, infamous tweet that he wrote on, I think it was the day after Christmas Day, where he basically talked about how American culture celebrates mediocrity over excellence. And so what I mean by Urkel nationalism is that he pointed to Urkel as someone that we should look up to instead of someone like Screech. Someone like what's the other popular kid? I don't know the characters of that show, but
of Saved by the Bell. Instead of
Family Matters, I think. Yeah.
Oh, Family Matters. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We should, how he said that we should idealize the nerds and the geeks of those shows instead of the supposed popular, right?
Right.
And so that's what I mean by Urkel nationalism. And yeah, like on one hand, I can completely see what he's talking about, and I understand that, you know. But clearly I have my disagreements with the tweet, like other people on the right, like Jack Posobiec, for instance, as well.
Right, but because I mean, you're an intellectual, right? I mean, like obviously you're a beautiful woman, and so therefore you're gonna be gifted an automatic piece of status in society. Okay, so just like this young woman who's on the cover of the magazine, right? She may or may not be a great person. From what I've a little bit that I read, it sounds like she actually is like an accomplished member of her community, a president of her sorority. She's well liked by everyone. But I mean, what my experience was growing up in the 1980s and 90s, and everybody kind of goes through awkward phases and stuff like that. You know, typically, unless you're a really, really beautiful man, you're not going to get gifted with sort of a status the way women are gifted status when they're beautiful. This is just how society works. But there was, when I was growing up, again, many, many years before you're born, there was a distinct anti-intellectual trend and a bullying oafishness of that really rubbed me raw, that it feels like it's starting to come back, because ultimately what I think we should be advocating for is for our warriors to also be scholars. And I don't want to bastardize like Thucydides or some ancient Greek philosopher who was talking about the concept of, you know, a nation that has its fighting done by nerds, or a nation that has, you know, warriors that are fools, you know, is going to, you know, have its nation destroyed. Because I don't know that the terms necessarily have to be mutually exclusive, but it seems like people want to go from one extreme to the other. Like, yeah, maybe it's not good to be totally Urkelized, right? And then on the other side, maybe it's not good to be a big oafish caveman who's, you know, illiterate. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I completely agree. I don't think that the conservative movement for a certain amount of time has embraced that, I guess you could say, Urkel fascination. I would say that,
Yes.
You know, the conservative movement, at least classically what it's known for as of late, is not known to buttress its scholars, I suppose you could say. And I certainly can agree with that. You know, it's always a more popular girl who's more socially adept that gets more favorability than someone that's not that's more socially inept. So, you know, I completely agree with that. I think what's happening with this picture in particular is that, however, because we have had for a certain degree of time, especially with like modern media, I think you see more in the mainstream media how we do put on, how do I put this? Like, we put on the pedestal more of the geek. If you see like more in like modern movies, for instance, it's always about that lonely boy, that geek, that nerd, you know, who gets the pretty girl at the end. And I think that
Revenge of the Nerds. It's Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds. Yes, that phenomenon, right?
It's a fantasy.
I think young conservatives, especially Zoomers, grew up with that. And I think this picture that, frankly, it does kind of have that, you know, sorority / fraternity aesthetic to it. It's a bit refreshing for them to see that. And perhaps that is why, you know, they're experiencing like this cultural ascendancy, especially seeing how both people on the left and the right are reacting so strongly to it. So whoever took this picture, I think was trying to make them look bad, but in a way, I think it's just uplifting the young conservative movement even more. And I personally don't see why the picture is so provocative. I thought it was just a normal picture, but I'm seeing how people were reacting.
Well, because they're white, because they're beautiful and they're white, and if you zoom in, it's because the left hates, you know, people of our pigmentation, our hue, and they hate our politics, and so they want to destroy us. So they want to attack superficial traits of ours that they have, because, you know, ultimately, you know, you and I believe the left hates things that are beautiful. The left hates things that are and it's because they're ugly, and that's why they worship ugliness. And that's why, you know, it was important, I think, for Trump to sign an executive order that encourages, but does not, you know, disallow, but it encourages beautiful architecture. And it discourages brutalism and ugliness in public works, because I think that there is something to an aspirational, a desire to have society aspire to beauty and strength, but it is. I think everybody kind of looks at this to some extent from the lens of the experiences that we had. Now, you know, you got a master's degree, you've engaged in intellectual pursuits, right? You've been a part of academia, much more so than I have. I don't know much about like your early life, but I'm guessing you didn't do theater, or were you into sports? Like, were you more on the Urkel nationalism side of things because you ended up getting a degree? Or were you more on the macho nationalist side of things growing up?
I was certainly more of the Urkel nationalism type, actually. I was not popular. I was not that social. So I completely understand the plight of the theater kid. I was in theater for a little bit in high school. I didn't enjoy it very much.
You did? You say you didn't enjoy it?
I mean, I just did it because my friends did it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like much of an
Mm-hmm.
but most of my friends were the theater kids, were the
Mhm.
emos and the goths.
The
More of the
rejects.
social pariahs. The rejects, exactly. A lot of people won't guess that perhaps with the way I look, with like the bleach blonde hair, perhaps the conventionally attractive face. But I was certainly not. I was not one of the popular kids.
Yes.
I will say that much.
That's so funny, Danielle. You might be surprised. You're much younger than I am, but I'll tell you this. I had an epiphany, and it was actually in just recently. It was something like maybe 7 years ago or something like that. I felt the exact same way you did. I thought the exact same thing. I was in theater. I did like it, and I didn't. I guess I always thought of myself as not one of the cool kids, not one of the popular kids, because I was more of a nerd, more of a bookish kid. And, I didn't do sports or anything like that in high school. But it was funny because like 7 years ago, this guy was actually one of my bullies when I was in elementary school, like was like a tormentor of mine. And like, we got over it and we got older and we're friends now. But he shocked me because he goes, Austin, it was, you always were one of the cool kids, one of the popular kids in school. And it kind of shocked me because I was like, really? Because I mean, and now that I look back on it, I think I was right. It was actually a little bit more of this. I actually feel like I was a little bit brainwashed by culture, Daniela, because of the polarization of the concepts of the outcast, the bookworm, the nerd versus the jocks and the athletics guys. I thought if you wanted to be cool, you had to be in sports, right? You had to do these activities. But I just didn't even know that those people in sports and the athletes and all that stuff, they really did like me the whole time. I just never saw it because I just assumed we were in opposition, in part because of like the cultural brainwashing that occurs through Hollywood, through the media, through television and through the arts. And because I think also there's a psychological component where, groupthink happens. When you join that group, we are all outcasts and rejects. You kind of fit in with them. And so you actually create that clique so you can feel like you're a part of something. I don't know that we'll be enlightened enough to merge these two concepts, Daniela. I think it's probably too difficult, but you and I probably agree that we do need to swing it maybe not towards oafishness, but towards beauty and strength and maybe the cruel kids table, as they call them, the cool kids table, even though you and I, admittedly, were not a part of that table growing up, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I definitely had the same experience as you, where after I left high school and even college, that when I started like hearing back, apparently people like me more than I thought as well. So I mean, it is perhaps there's an element of having to grow up and see that, but certainly there are parts of both groups, you could say, where they both have their own virtues, and we should just look to both of those virtues. I think like the scholarly, data-driven aspect of the Urkel types is something that we should strive for, but also, I guess you could say the aesthetically pleasing aspect of the other side is something we should shoot for as well. So you certainly can combine the two. And I don't know how high school is like right now, obviously, but in how, I guess, what is it? Just late Zoomers or Generation Alpha, I suppose, is going to enter high school soon. I don't know how they're going to view this concept. There's probably going to be more subcultures and cliques within high school, but and leading into college. But at least as adults, we should see, and people going, especially young people going into the Republican, libertarian, and conservative movements. I think that there is yes, you're right. There's striving for that aesthetically pleasing element that we have just been lacking for so long, simply because of leftist politics trying to bring us down and trying to bring ugliness into culture, just because they don't have it. And there is two ways to go. I think that a lot of people that especially were part of the rejects in high school that were more socially maligned, or at least were perceived that experience, they can go two ways. They can embrace the supposed ugliness, when really they themselves are probably not even that, physically unattractive, or their experience wasn't that bad. They can go that direction, celebrate ugliness, or they can accept that perhaps their experiences wasn't that bad and they could do better, and they end up sometimes becoming conservative, or embracing the more traditionally beautiful elements. So there are two ways. It's kind of like that meme where there's two pathways, one to the scary castle and one to the beautiful castle. Or there's a way out. Just depends where you go.
Yeah. For sure. And sometimes there's even a third path that might not be seen, the road less traveled. Daniela, this was a great conversation. I think we came to a really good understanding there, and I think it was interesting. The audience learned a lot about you today, about your upbringing. You were an Urkel nationalist at one time. All right. So, Daniela, is there anything else you want to share? Or maybe give a sneak preview of what you're talking about tonight at 7 p.m. Central at rumble.com/Culturama, your own show.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'll be talking about this, the Little House on the Prairie situation. And, we did have that airplane crash, a very unfortunate situation, but I'll be talking about it as well. I'll be talking about RFK. So there's going to be a jam-packed episode. So tune into Culturama. I have my mug here as well, drinking coffee out of it. But I hope I'll see you guys there. It'll be a really good episode.
People are loving your Atomic Blonde coffee, by the way. Somebody wrote a review of your coffee that was phenomenal. I think it was Drew Lattimore wrote a review of the Atomic Blonde coffee in the shop. It's like starting to get up there and compete with some of our top founding flavors coffees. Danielle, you're doing a fantastic job. Not only are you the merch bitch, but you're out there making culture change. From Urkel nationalism to aesthetic greatness, DCPentsak, she's the host of the Culturama podcast. She gets up way early for the Wake Up America show, so we must say thank you to her and follow you. You changed your handle over on X. It's DCPentsak.
It's DCPentsak now, yes.
DCPentsak. But to most of us in the chat, you'll always be our Daniela Densak. Thank you very much, Daniela.
Thank you, Austin.
Have a great day. We'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Central.
See you.
There we go. She's lovely. She's Daniela Pentsak. These conversations are always so fun. I went over time. I feel as if... Oh, wrong button. I feel as if... It needed it, though. It's okay to go over a little bit, guys. Don't you like it when we go over, huh? Yes? Okay, shut up. No. All right, it's happening. It's the end of the show, and though we've come to the end of the road, still, I can't let go. I just want to remind you guys of what a special thing that we have here on the Wake Up America show. We are small, but we are mighty. We are some of us Urkel nationalists. We are some of us Chad nationalists. But we are all... a team. It's a group. Team Liberty, I like to call it. So I just want to say thank you very much for being a part of the team. The morning show crew, Joni Rankin, Bruce Burtwhistle, Camelia Peterson, Quest Fanning, Latrell, L-Dubs, Luke Sacker, even Whitey White 14, who probably hates my guts in a strange way. Quest Fanning loves me but hates me. Luke Sacker, Mongoose 87, Steelbringer, Kermode Bear, Entropy Nomad, and Dad Bod Baboon, and so many of us. You're one of us. Sarah Sanchez, what's up? One of us. We're small but mighty. We're making it happen. We've been making dozens and dozens of phone calls, letting people know about the APDC Liberty Tour, getting more people signed up. The number of people that can go is limited, so please do get your tickets if you haven't gotten them already. If you're a monthly supporter of the show, you get a 20% discount. Make sure that you use that discount when you go to the Grift Shop. And speaking of Grift Shop, everybody exit through the Grift Shop, grab yourself a box of coffee on your way out. Wouldn't that be cool if we had a real brick and mortar and we were doing a show in a real theater right now and you could actually exit and buy this? Well, since you can't do that, why don't you just go to forlibertyshop.com and pick up some today? Have it sent to your house. Sign up for a monthly subscription. Look at this beautiful box at the signing of the Declaration of Independence, designed by me and Steffi. Look at that beautiful box. Wouldn't you like a big, beautiful box of coffee like that? Franklin's Electric Elixir. It's absolutely delicious. Highly recommend it. One of the top 3 coffees, maybe a bag of Atomic Blonde coffee, or perhaps you might try our Boston Harbor Black. This is what I'm drinking today. It's our 4 Liber tea, Boston Harbor Black. Yep, it's like the kind of tea that they threw into the Boston Harbor, but you guys can enjoy it at 4libertyshop.com. com. Thanks, guys. Love you all. Another day of hard work getting ready because I got another show to give you guys tomorrow morning. Freedom Family Friday. We'll see you there. Exit through the gift shop. Have a wonderful day, guys. See you later.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, DCPentsak. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!